I just think those guys are competing. You know, you want to put them in situations where they're getting similar calls, and you know they're working with all the groups. So I've told the guys over and over, I think as we go through this season, since it'll be a long one, if you earn the right to play, you'll rotate. And that's just going to be how your performance is going to go through the whole season. So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, this guy's here or there. I think it's constantly fluent, and I like that. It keeps a little edge to it, you know. You got to make plays if you want to go out there with the first unit. So they're both doing a good job. I think, you know, the biggest thing when you go through camp, you get installs. As they keep building, you have to keep combing through the early stuff. You know, you can't have repeat offenders with mistakes. So the guys are doing a good job competing, and we've had a physical practice today, so it'd be good to get in there and see how it went. Well, they're both, I mean, obviously you look at their physical traits, extremely impressive with their size and how they move. Obviously, Sonny has a perspective coverage-wise, I think, coming from safety down to the box. You know, the thing you had to work on with Sonny was just his footwork, getting him to slow down a little bit. You know, you want to be so fast to go so often. You got to get him to really understand that you can't cross over in the box. You got to be able to shuffle and be slow till it's time to be fast. And CJ has this natural ability that when he blitzes, he can reduce the surface and he makes stuff happen, you know. So they both have unique traits, both very talented, and they both want to be great. You know, when you talk to them, they both want to learn. And so that's all you can appreciate as a coach, is they just want to get better. Yeah, I think it's just no matter who it is, whether it's CJ or anybody in our room, you know, if you want to be trusted, right? It's not just you're trying to prove it to me, you're trying to prove it to your boys next to you. You know what I mean? I remember when I played, like, I just wanted Malcolm to trust that I was going to be where I was supposed to be, when I was supposed to be there, and that's it. And so we preach that to everybody. I think CJ's doing a nice job so far this fall, and you know, he's just got to keep going. It's got to be an everyday thing for all of our guys. You know what I mean? And I think at times, you know, he would have a good day, and then he'd have a day where it'd be like, okay, we got to cut, you know, some certain things out. But so far, he's been locked in, and his attitude has been great. And you know, see how today goes. You never know how practice truly goes till you go watch the film. But he's been doing well so far. Yeah, I think Gabe Powers has gotten a lot more confident. I'm always pushing Gabe. When you are the Mike linebacker in any scheme, you have to make the calls, right? You have to be the general on the field. And then if the D-line or if someone is out of position, it is your job to make it right. And so I'm constantly, it's not just Gabe, it's Arvell, it's the young guys. You got to be the general. You got to fix everything as a Mike. And that's the job description. Gabe's done a nice job. He's starting to kind of get more comfortable in that role of speaking up, being loud, demonstrative in those moments. Arvell Reese has done a nice job studying the playbook, really getting it down. Arvell's had a nice fall. So, you know, I think the development behind Cody is coming along. And then I think, you know, a guy who can handle multiple positions mentally is Peyton Pierce. I think Peyton has done a nice job, you know, being at will, but he also understands conceptually kind of the defense. So he's doing a nice job as well. So it's been a good start trying to develop guys behind Cody. I think the thing with Sonny is that he wants to be great, so he wants to understand. You know, he doesn't just ask a question about, like, what am I supposed to do? He wants to understand why. Like, why are you asking me to do this, right? So the way that he has grown, I think, from the spring is an example, right? It's like, hey, where do I fit on this blitz? Well, it's understanding where the line is slanting, where the blitz is coming from. So when you are in certain positions as a linebacker, everything's in phase. I got to send this back to my help, right? It's understanding that versus there's a growth in the level. You know, it's always knowing what to do, right? How to do it, and then why are we doing it? Those are the 3 levels of learning it. I got to know what I'm doing, right? How to do the job, and then why are you asking me to do this job? I think Sonny has always been so inquisitive about all 3 of those things. I think for CJ is when the ball is snapped, just pulling your trigger, like using your ability and just going. So I think, you know, you bring up the fact that he's a good blitzer because when you are telling him, hey, you're going here, you know, he's very disruptive. Very disruptive, and I think he's probably the best blitzer in our room. Arvell might have an argument with that. I'm sure Sonny wants to have an argument with that, but CJ just makes stuff happen when you send him, right? And so when it's a zone scheme, you know, it's just trusting that, hey, you know what to do, just go, pull your trigger. You know what I mean? And I think CJ's gotten better at that this fall so far. And so it's just getting them to, like, when you play linebacker and the thing opens up, you got to trust, like, hey, I'm supposed to do this thing. If it closes, now find the ball. You know what I mean? And so it's just continually working with the guys. And he's not the only one where it's just pull your trigger and go. But CJ has a uncanny ability when he blitzes to make stuff happen. As a linebacker in general, and this is any linebacker, when you are learning a system, you are trying to learn, what am I doing? And if you don't know, stuff happens, set hut, you're not going to play fast. I mean, that was myself included when you're young. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. Once you know where you're supposed to do, what the alignments are, the adjustments, now I can diagnose what's the offense giving me. And then you can predict plays, you can anticipate. Because if you're reacting at linebacker, you're not going to be good enough. You got to be able to anticipate and know exactly where you're supposed to go. And so I think just the experience in the system has helped him, and it'll help everybody. The more you do it over and over and over and over, the game starts to slow down for you, and then you can go and make plays. Cody Simon is a guy you could put at Tim, at Mike, at Will, at Sam. You can move them all around. He's the unquestioned leader of the group. He's the leader of the defense. Gets everybody lined up. Very technical. Has really good footwork, really clean footwork, which allows him to change direction and get off blocks and tackle well. So I think Cody Simon is probably, if you said who's the most overall, LB, just because he can go anywhere and he can do anything for us. They just got to play, man. They just got to play. And I think the more reps and the more you kind of move guys around, sometimes it'll be Cody and CJ, it'll be Cody and Sonny, it'll be Arvell and Sonny, it'll be Arvell and CJ, Gabe, and you're just moving guys around. I mean, for the first time today, Peyton got two reps at Mike. I just want to see how he'd handle it, because he's a guy that seems to understand conceptually what the scheme is. And so you're not just teaching a guy, hey, the Mike backer does this. It's like, okay, no, it's cover 3. There's a curl flat guy, hook curl, curl flat. Who are those 4 pieces underneath, right? And then that way, if you put them at somewhere else, it's like, well, if I was here and now I'm here, can they figure it out? And because that's football. Sometimes the nickel's supposed to go to the boundary, sometimes he's not. Well, coach, he's supposed to go there. I don't care, we're linebackers, figure it out. Bump out, play the other. So it's always cross-training them, Tim. You're trying to, I don't want only like the Will linebackers to know one technique and the Mike to know another technique. No, they got to know both. Because in our scheme, they're going to be put in both situations. I don't care maybe if the Mike only does this technique 10% of the time. Well, at 10%, you're at Ohio State. You got to execute it. I don't care if you only got 10%, you know what I mean? So it's the expectation is to know what you're doing.